morning, everybody. I was inspired to make this video because I've seen, what a little bit of commitment can do for me in my life, and anybody can do the same thing that I'm doing. Anybody could read, whether you read English or Hebrew, or whatever it is, you could do the same thing. I'm not doing this I don't want to ayin hara. I don't want people to be jealous of me, but kinna sofer machkim. You don't take anything away from me by copying me and doing the same thing. So therefore, like it says, the jealousy of scribes makes one wise. And I saw it myself. There was a bit of kinna sofer, someone who was an actual sofer, and it's really helped me over the past few months, and I'm just so excited by what God has helped me and allowed me to do. Reb Nachman of Breslov, he said that you look at how people brag about how they visited different places, different cities, different countries, which I myself do. It's a natural thing, and I remember various places I've visited throughout my life, whether it be Yerushalayim and different places in Eretz Yisrael that I visited, or whether it be various places in Europe or in Central America and South America and so forth that I've seen in my life, and various places around the United States of America, and visiting Canada and so forth. And people are excited by this and they're interested in this. And Rabbi Nachman said, people should feel the same way about books that they've read, especially Sifrei Kodesh. That there should be this feeling of pride that, I've learned through Shas, or I've learned through the whole Shulchan Aruch, the whole Medrash Rabbah, the whole Shas Mishnayos, the whole Tanach, and so forth. And there are certain things that are so fundamental, and even other Sfarim, whether it's Hasidic Sfarim, Kedushas Levi, the Melech, the Tanya, whatever it is, Musar Sfarim, and so forth, it's an accomplishment, I remember in yeshiva, there was David Orlovsky. He said, how many people have tried to start learning Mesilas Yesharim? Everybody raised their hand, and he said, how many people finished it? Maybe one or two raised their hand, and I'm not one of them. And he blamed it on someone, whatever, a certain translation. It's interesting. I was an acquaintance with his son. I mentioned this to him, even though it was the type of translation I myself probably would have done if I were translating it. And I really like it. I don't know. I don't think that's the reason. I think the reason why it's difficult is because it's such a holy sefer, and so that's why there's manias, like Nachman Breslov talks about. There's always manias to anything that's holy. There's always holdbacks. So I experienced in my life, I remember my teacher in high school, Moshe Meiberg, who's a very prominent Rav now on Long Island, and also a Shgiach Ruchni at NYU. And Rabbi Weinberger, he said, can you imagine, have a shear to learn something. You don't have to just learn what they teach you in yeshiva. You can learn whatever you want. You have free time. I hear boys. I remember, you visit yeshivas, you see so many boys smoke, and it's so disgusting. I don't think they're having kavanas like the Sklanner Rebbe or the Lulav Rebbe when they're smoking. To be honest, maybe some of them do. I don't know if it's possible. But the Sklanner Rebbe himself says he doesn't encourage anyone to copy him. They say I need an outlet. I need an outlet. But the fact of the matter is that Tanach could be a good outlet. Sifrei Hasidus could be a good outlet. Sifrei Musar could be a good outlet. You can have outlets that are Turdic outlets. There are plenty of nice books in English that could be a nice outlet. Something nice on the Sedra or something. They say that the big Talmidei Chachamim, when they want to relax, they learn the Senorena, which is written for women, but in Yiddish, but it's it's a holy book, Now there are so many Sifrei Kodesh, that are available both in the original Lashon Kodesh and in English and so forth, and they're available to the community, and that could be an outlet. Yes, I also have outlets, I'm not, but smoking should be an outlet. I don't know. I don't have an issue if someone, once a year on Purim smokes a cigar or something, where they have an Indian, like, Motzei Shabbos, Motzei Shabbos Blugma, like the Lulav Rebbe taught, things like that. I'm not totally anti-smoking, but there has to be, I tell people who smoke to try to meditate when they're smoking, try to think about God, thank God for whatever pleasure they feel from it. And I think when a person does that, they can become more moderate also in their addiction. I myself, I don't enjoy smoking very much. I like once every couple of years on Purim, I might smoke a cigar. It's been a few years since I have. Although I do enjoy sometimes smelling cigars other people smoke sometimes. The secondhand smoke, it doesn't really bother me, but however it is, cigarettes are just disgusting though. But whatever, everybody has their own opinion, and I don't frankly, other people have other approaches. But right now, I just want to share something that worked for me, or has been working for me. Now, I remember when I was in high school, and then when I went to Eretz Yisrael, I was still in high school when I went to Eretz Yisrael. There was I decided, first of all, when I was in high school, I learned Daf Yomi every day. How well I learned it, who knows? But I read the words. Usually, I had a Encino Gemara, and I was able to more or less make a laning, and I read in English. In Encino, you got an English lesson too. I learned some words. The Gemara Megillah has the word fundament, and I'm not going to explain what it is because it's somewhat vulgar and not really. It's part of the body, but whatever it is, I find it interesting that I learned that word from the Encino Gemaras. But and then I remember when I went to Hashem, it'll be an accomplishment that I can take with me, when we finish. And I kind of would like to go ahead, Aaron Satmer in Monroe. I remember when I was a bacher, he started a program to learn 5 amudim a week, meaning 2.5 daf a week, and I've kept up with that as well. Although I was disappointed that now at first he was just picking random masechtas, and now he's going through the Seder Shas, and I would have rather, and I think we're going back over certain masechtas we learned already, and I would much rather have, gone and learned, Kodshim, and then I would be, because I'm up to Sanhedrin. I went ahead with the Daf Yomi, so I'm learning now Sanhedrin, but with this Yisodei Torah program, I'm learning Pesachim, and even though the Daf Yomi is still by Basra, but I finished it already, so I'm learning now Sanhedrin, which I've always been polishing my whole life to learn Masechta Sanhedrin, and I don't know why I never did. My Zayd Alav Shalom, that was the Masechta that he learned in his life. He went to a shir every week with the Rav in the shul, and he learned that whole Masechta. So it should be a first for his neshama that I'm learning it now. Baruch Rabbi Yitzchak. And it took them, I don't know, something like 15 or 20 years in the shul every Shabbos afternoon, learning a little bit. But so, and it's after Shabbos, the first week when they started, all the Balabatim who were in the shir, they signed their name in the front of the Gemara, and those who were Messiahim signed their name in the back. And my Zayda was one of the few who was both in the front and in the back. But I remember, like I said, when I was in high school, I decided every day I'm going to learn one parak of Mishnayos, and I finished Shas Mishnayos in 2 years, and I'm going to learn one parak of Tanach, and I finished Tanach in 2 years. And Mishnayos I had done many times again, and I continued to do that, and I was always hoping to find an app on the phone that had Mishnayos with Nakudas that would make it just easier, that much easier. Even though I could learn without the Nakudas, but having the Nakudas makes it go much quicker. And Baruch Hashem, I found this wonderful app, the Kahati Mishnayos app, and I suggest everyone download. It's a free app, and now they have it in English too. When I had downloaded it, they didn't have English, but now they have it in English. Absolutely free, and I myself, I try to learn at least 2 chapters, 2 parakim of Mishnayos every day, or 3 usually, 3 or 4 sometimes. I've been mostly doing 3 a day, and so that way I finish Shas Mishnayos twice a year. I make a see him every month, just about on average, and it's wonderful. It's and I wanted to do the same thing with Tanakh for years and years, and I would always, after Simchas Torah, try to open up Sefer Yehoshua, and after a while I would just give up for years and years. And then this year I said I'm really going to do it, but I couldn't keep up with one parak a day for some reason, especially because I really wanted to get into what I was learning, really understand it. Then someone on Twitter mentioned they have like a chabur, but every day, and he mentioned some other things. When he learns Yerushalmi, he learns every night, and that inspired me. And he said with the Tanakh, he does one parak of Navi and one parak of Ksubim, and he finished, and he doesn't include Tehillim in that because he says the whole Tehillim every month anyway, and he just reads through it unless he doesn't understand the word. Then he'll look, at a commentary or the translation or whatever. But in general, he just reads straight through. I remember some years ago, Rav Aryeh Bar Tzadok said, just read Tanakh. Forget about learning Tanakh, just read Tanakh. And on the other hand, I remember B'nai Torah saying, if you just read Tanakh, you'll misunderstand it. So you need Malbim, you need someone to show you what it really means. The thing is, once you know what it means, and once you've already learned, you can just read through it because you know already what it means, But so for me personally, I'd say he says he finishes the whole Navi every year and the whole Ksuvim twice a year and Tehillim 12 times a year. I'll be honest, sometimes when I'm doing the daily Tehillim, I just skim through it. I don't actually say all the words. I'm going to try to work on that and really be more serious with saying Tehillim. I hope so. I pray to Hashem that I can be more serious with saying Tehillim, and at least one time in the year say the whole Tehillim seriously, word by word. But what I decided to do is I still say the Chok Yisrael, so I fulfill saying all of these things every day. Chumash, Navi, Ksubim. Even the same thing with the Chok Yisrael. I don't really always say all the Gemara, all the Mishnayos perfectly. When I learn the Mishnayos every day, I do. But, sometimes with the Chok Yisrael, I'll just say a little bit of it. I don't, a little bit of each piece. It's just an Indian to make the tikkun on each individual piece, more or less. But with Tanakh, so I decided instead of following Rav Siegel's approach of doing one parak of Nevi'im and one parak of Ksubim, I would do just 2 prakim straight through of wherever I'm up to, Navi or Ksubim. So right now I just finished Megillas Esther, and I'm going to start Mirz Hashem Say Daniel, and I realize I'm in the home run. I'm in the home stretch now. With Daniel, and then we have Ezra and Nehemiah and Devrei Yamim, and that's it. We have Daniel and Ezra and Nehemiah and Chronicles, and then I'm done. And then I'll focus on Tehillim, and I can make a siyum on the whole Tanakh. And it's been 15 years since I've learned Daniel or Ezra and Nehemiah. Megillas Esther we know already. But I said it anyway, even though I could say, well, I linked Megillas Esther, 3 or 4 times on Purim itself, so I don't need to read it again. The same thing Shir I say every week or whatever, But I decided I'm going to do that anyway. We just did Rus not too long ago. We're going to do Eicha soon, and I could, we just did Ruth, and we're going to do soon Lamentations, and so why do I need to repeat it? But I decided I'm going to do it anyway. But and some days I might just do one parak of Tanakh, and other days, most days I try to do 2, but I force myself to do at least one. I try Mirz Hashem, sometimes maybe I don't make it, I don't know, but I try with Mirz Hashem, and but but some days I could do 3 or 4 prakim. Yesterday, I probably did 4 the day before. day. That's ridiculous. There's no reason, to do just one kapitel Tehillim. You could do at least 2 or 3 or 4 or 5, and cover ground. And that was in addition to just saying the regular Tehillim every day. But when I did it years ago, I read it in Lashon HaKodesh and I read it in English. I didn't understand Lashon HaKodesh as well back then as I do now, and I still don't. Going through Sefer Eov, there was, of course, Eov is a very difficult Sefer, the Book of Job, especially in Hebrew and even in English. It's the most difficult in the Tanakh, probably. The Divrei Yamim is also difficult if you really want to get into it. It's all about and Daniel also. We have all the. Although my Aramaic has gotten better in the past 15 years too, but it's still not perfect. I can't carry on a conversation in Aramaic that I know. But not the whole Daniel is in Aramaic though, but still. So I've seen a lot of Siyata D'Shmaya with this. I remember I was an extra in a movie a few weeks ago, maybe a few months already, and they handed me as a prop a Tanakh with Hebrew and English. I didn't bring it with me. I was thinking of bringing it, and I didn't. And it's interesting. They handed it to me, so I remember where I was up to, and I did my learning there while I was sitting and being an expert in this film. I was playing a rabbi. Go figure. Excuse me. So anyway, the point is, I'm almost done with the whole Jewish Bible, with the whole Hebrew Bible, and even though I've done it before, I realize it's an accomplishment, and it's something I can do every year, and then it's something I can be koine. It could be part of, who I am. Not just I can say, well, I did this once, when I was 17 years old, 18 years old. Now I'm 33 years old, and I'm doing it again, and it's amazing, and I love it. And anybody can do this. There's no reason for you not to. Even if you can't read Hebrew, although if you can read Hebrew and you can read it fairly quickly, I would suggest to say the words in Hebrew, because it does something for your neshama. But get a good English translation. Probably the best is Aryeh Kaplan's, but I don't have that. Judaic Press is also wonderful, and it's free online, chabad.org, with Rashi in English. The whole Rashi is translated, and it's Hebrew and English for free online. That's an incredible thing. Or whatever works for you. Rashi is very important, though. I'm saying that the whole Rashi on Tanakh is free online. That's an incredible thing. And they should really put it into an app form that, like this Kahati Mishnayos app, that you could hold on to your place and everything. I haven't. There are a few Tanakh apps out there. I have one that I've been using. I want to have one that has Tamei Mikra, that has the musical cantillation notes. Because I like to try to read those as well if I understand them. I mean, Mishle and Eov, it's very difficult. I don't know what those mean, but it means something, and at least you know where to put the accent on it. Sometimes there's 2 accents or whatever, but with the Nevi'im and you're learning Gemara, the Gemara assumes that you're familiar with Tanakh. Just to be honest, there's an assumption in Gemara that you are familiar with Tanakh, and yet most Rabbanim are not familiar. And you can still take time to go back and learn it. Read it first, and then if you have extra time, you go back and learn it with the Mefarshim. But at least read the whole chapter. Don't let these things get in your way of preventing you from learning. Meaning, get a B'kiyas first, and then you can go B'iyun. But first, develop this B'kiyas. This is what children are supposed to have from their youth, and we've been robbed by the system of our old B'kiyas, of our old breadth of knowledge in our holy writings, both in Scripture and Mishnayos and Gemara. The ancient way was kids would just read the words, whether they understood or not. They read the words, and then when they got older, they were familiar with this, and then they could understand it. And nowadays, the approach is totally different. So we have to reclaim that for ourselves as adults, really. And with Tanakh, both men and women, and both Jews and Gentiles, you can, for sure, at least gain a familiarity with Tanakh. We have to understand how B'nai Torah understand the Tanakh, because it's not the way fundamentalist Christians read the Tanakh, and you can't just take a random Bible verse and say, well, this is what the Bible says, and that's it. We have to understand things through the lens of Chazal and our Mefarshim and our Tzaddikim, who explain it in a clear way and a biblically sound way that's consistent. Really, if you really, and also, but the most important aspect of Jewish doctrine vis-a-vis our study of Tanakh has to be as follows: that doctrine and halacha come solely from the Chumash, and the other books of the Bible are comments on the Chumash, on the first books, on the Torah. Meaning, like our sages say, if we had not sinned, we would have only had the 5 books of Moses and Joshua, and we would have nothing else in our Bible. And we have a full Bible only to help us get back to Torah. So, that being said, we have to be aware of this, that if something in the Nevi'im or Kesubim seems to contradict Torah, we have to bring those to be in line with Torah and not the opposite. Meaning not to bring the Torah in line with the Navi or Kesubim, but rather bring the Navi or the Kesubim, the subsequent books of the Bible, in line with Torah. And that's going to be the way that we're going to combat missionaries who try to twist our scriptures by understanding that Torah comes first, and everything else is just commentary on Torah. Now, but be strong and of good courage, like Joshua says. There is so much wonderful things we can get out of reading the Tanakh. Great ideas, great stories, great lessons in life. Just seeing how their lives are not different than our own. The timeless nature of these words, and the truth of these words that are God-given, and are the Word of God, 100%. Just we have to know how to approach them. But learning Yirmiyahu and Yechezkel, reading Jeremiah and Ezekiel. I always loved Yeshayahu. I always loved Isaiah, and I kind of had a disconnect from most of Jeremiah and Ezekiel. But then this time learning it around, I realized they're going through the same things we're going through. I remember seeing like one of these advice columns, and someone asked a preacher, they said, "Oh, the Bible, that's so old. Who cares what it says in the Bible?" And then the same thing, people say, "Oh, the Constitution, it's so old. Who cares what it says in the Constitution?" They get with the times, and how stupid people are to say things like that, because everything we have is built on these foundations, and if we don't have the foundations, you have nothing. Your whole edifice is going to crumble. But the mistake people make is they think that that a conservative is like a hoarder and doesn't throw anything away. No, conservatism maintains that which is valuable and that which is worthy of being saved, and not just everything. We're not worshiping Baal and just because that's what they did in ancient times. We find what worked in the past and what didn't work, and we hold on to what's true and discard that which is false. And there are people who would like to go back to worshiping Baal and Odin, or I don't know, all these. That's what Hitler wanted. Hitler wanted to go back to Old Norse gods and get rid of Christianity because it was a Jewish invention. He contradicts himself sometimes on that topic, but it was in order to hold the masses. If he would have been too much and talking in that direction, he would have lost his whole audience. But every now and then it came out what he really wanted, which was paganism. What am I saying here? I don't know. If anybody's watching this video, hopefully I'll be able to upload it. I had like some chest pains, and I don't feel like myself right now. I don't know, and that's why it might seem I'm rambling. So this should be a record of that if it needs to be. I don't know if I'm going to be able to upload it. Who knows? Maybe I should stop now and just upload. But I want to finish what I want to say, but I don't remember what I want to say. But don't worry too much. I'm sure everything's fine. So what was I saying? Tanakh. Learn Tanakh. Read it. And I hope Hashem should be able to help me, that I should be able to Messiah Tanakh again. I'm looking forward to this very anxiously. I want to be able to dance on Simchas Torah to celebrate not only finishing the Chumash, which I also treasure, of course, even more, Hashem, maybe in a few years, finish Shas Bavli. I also started a little bit learning Yerushalmi every night, just a few lines every night, just to have a connection to it. And I have it in my house. Someone gave it to me, so it's good to have it. And it's really wonderful learning Yerushalmi. But I'm so excited now to be learning Gemara Sanhedrin. I've been looking forward to this for 20 years. It's so exciting to finally be learning Gemara Sanhedrin. I don't know what took so long. I remember when in Reb Aaron's Chabura we learned Avodah Zarah. Also, just a fun, interesting Masechta to learn. We should enjoy learning Torah. We should get a geschmack from and it's okay to get a different geschmack from different Masechtas. Each Masechta has a malach that's shaykh to it. There's a story of the Chavetz Chaim that he was at the Levaya, and there was this woman there, and he was like, "Wow, who are you? There's a spiritual beauty around you." And she said, "Well, my name's Chagiga." And that's not a name we really give. I've heard of a name Chagit, it's like Israeli name, but like Chagiga, that's not a name we give. But of course, there's the Masechta Chagiga, which is one of my favorites, personally. And it might sound basic to say that, but it's true. I'll be honest with who I am and how I feel. And I've learned that a few times, and there's the Indian of like the Olam Haba Masechta. Like one of my Zaydas, I think it was the Kruler of, his Olam Haba Masechta was like Yavamas or Erevin, and it was like one of the really hard ones. Like he learned it like every month. I think it was Erevin. I don't know. Like I can't imagine doing that. I'm happy I did it. I read through the words once, and I have a hard time, understanding all of it. But like at least something, I have some connection to it. But like, Mirza Hashem, I should do it again. But like, to have such a Zayda like that. But also, he learned Mishnayos constantly. He learned Drushas constantly. And at least that I'm trying to emulate. If not the Erevin, like that's really that shows the godless of who this old Zayda, the Kruler Rav, was. This 200 years ago I'm talking about. He was from the time of Berditcher, where he met the Berditcher. So Chosig and Lein Holton Sulmain, Berditcher Rav. He tried not to meet him. He tried to. I didn't blame him. He didn't know what he was getting into. I find a certain ehrlichkeit that even at this point in my life, I don't have that Indian. Maybe when I'm older, I find what to embrace with that Indian, but it's so important just to learn. You know, Yisrael David Harfness, he wrote a tremendous sefer, Yisrael Maraisa, just bringing all kinds of sources and explaining Derech HaLimud, you know, and my holy Zayda, the Chavas Yoyer, he explained a Derech HaLimud, and for Bachrim, and he explained, you know, this was before you had like yeshivas, you know, so he so you know, he explained, like, you know, you gotta just learn, you know, find what, you know, mashali b'chafetz, you know, learn what you want, you know, you gotta, you know, I mean, I look at Rabbi Siegel and like what he accomplished, because he took this Derech HaLimud from the Breslover idea of Bekiyas, of just covering ground, and he has a tremendous awareness and understanding because of his Bekiyas. He's not a Chamor Noises Svarim, he's not just a donkey who's carrying books. It transformed and transfigured his life, and so many other Talmidei Chachamim, the same thing, and you see the Gedolei Yisrael, I mean, who first and foremost focused on the Bekiyas. And when you're young, maybe you don't understand it as well, but you go through it and you do it again and again and again, and you're gonna become a Talmid Chacham over time. You know, but Tanakh is an integral aspect of what it's all about. If you don't have Tanakh, you're missing something tremendous, and there's no excuse to not learn Tanakh. But people have to figure out what works for them. And like my friend Harav Again, Menashe Kalati Shlita, we were Chavrusas in Yeshiva, and he always said, just learn. Don't you know, everyone sits around thinking, what should we learn? Instead of just learning, you know. And it's the same thing, you know, like, don't limit yourself. Like, if you decide, yeah, I'm gonna do 2 parakim of Mishnayos every day, or 1 parak of Mishnayos every day, and then like you see you have some extra time, do another parak. You could do Chazara also, or you could go weiter, whatever you want, whatever your neshama tells you need, because it's you know, your soul thirsts and hungers for the Word of God just the same way our body needs food, our soul needs Torah. And sometimes even like, just like with food, you have like a craving for a particular food, and so too you could be familiar with, like, you have a craving for a particular piece of Torah, and you should, and the craving, you should follow that, and there you'll never have to feel guilty about learning Torah. You know, of course there has to be healthy approaches. You need some hadracha. You know, some people, you know, you can't just open up. You can. I mean, there's nothing wrong. I'll be honest. Nothing wrong with opening up the Zohar once in a while, or the Kisveri, or whatever, and Svarim, you're going to learn that you need to know Tanakh, and you need to know Mishnayos and Gemara and Halacha before you can really understand these things. I remember in school, in public school, I was talking to someone, and they were asking me, and they weren't Jewish, they were asking me about the Kabbalah. And I said, they said, what's the difference? The Zohar and some other Kabbalistic works, can you do magic and this and that, all these nonsense that people think, even though there are things that appear to be magical or supernatural to most people, but it's really not. It's really totally just, it's a really form of technology if you really get into it, but then I said something. I said, well, the Zohar is a commentary on the Bible. So then this fellow, he's not Jewish. He said, well, that's boring. I want to know about the meat and stuff. If you really looked at it, you would see it's not boring. But the Chag Yisrael is a great thing. And it has every day shtickle Zohar. Sometimes, these teachings of the Zohar are so practical and so relatable. Like, it's coming up Matas Masai. There's the one about Yechezkel, and just so beautiful. It's really from Parshat Shmos, but it's but because it has to do with the Churban Beis Hamikdash, we learn it now this time of year. Check that out. It's amazing. All right, I'm gonna upload this just in case if something happens to me, I don't make it to work. There'll be some record, but learn Tanakh. That's the purpose, and the purpose of what I'm saying is, don't feel that you have to read all the commentaries and spend your whole day like on one verse. You could do that sometimes, and that's a beautiful thing when you feel like it, but make that accomplishment of reading the whole thing. And then probably a good approach, even though I don't always do this, is you read your chapter and then you go back and read the commentary. That's a nice thing, Make sure you're reading kosher commentaries and kosher translations and sorry, but try to get through it. Try to learn it and read it. You can do it. Chazak v'amatz, be strong and of good courage. It's not that hard. I forgot what else I was supposed to say. I don't know. Whatever it is, read through the Tanakh, learn it, and you can feel like you made the accomplishment, and then you could do it again next year, and each time you'll get into it more and more, and it'll change your life. And the thing is, like, there are Christians who read the whole Bible every year, and they have more to read, So, and it's our book, I'm saying the Hebrew Tanakh, that's ours. What they call the Old Testament, we don't call it old. It's current. It's timeless. But if they could do it, we could do it. So we should be doing it. So go. Especially a great time to do that is like right after some historical. They just finished the Chumash, and so then you're like continuing the narrative right into Joshua and Judges and Samuel and Kings. All right, but you could do it now too. You don't have to wait. Alright. I don't know why anybody would be watching this, but thank you for watching. God bless you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Alright, be well.